welcome to her Wild Side Hockey Podcast. I am your hostess, Mikki, and here we are, summer hockey. Tonight is actually the first night of WD League here in Minnesota, if anyone is following that. I want to go to at least one night of that sometime this year, but I won't be there tonight. But thankfully they are broadcasting on YouTube, so I can still watch because I had a lot of fun watching last year. Intro. It's summer. It is July 10th today. It always feels like summer should be so relaxing, and parts of it are, but the reality is that I have two kids who are home and who are still young enough that they need me to pay like a little bit of attention to what they're doing, and it just means that I have not gotten a ton of stuff done. But as I keep talking about, I do have big plans. Part of my problem is that I tend to be a dreamer. I am pie in the sky dreamer, which can be a good thing. But there was actually a lot of things happening just today. It's Wednesday, just today in the Minnesota hockey world. So we're going to dive in. First, we are going to talk about the complete implosion of the PWHL Minnesota team. Now, it's like they won the championship, the inaugural championship of the PWHL, and the wheels just fell off of the entire thing. They got rid of their GM. All of a sudden, Ken Klee is some kind of a dictator who is not quite a GM, not quite a head coach, but some sort of amalgamation of both roles, and is doing this all kind of under the guidance, shall we say, of puppet master Kendall Coyne Schofield. Just today, there was an article that came out by Ian Kennedy, who is always really good about putting out these kinds of things, about several other staff members that have been let go. And more kind of hints that some of the players that have retired from the sport didn't really do it because they wanted to retire. I know at least two of them have said they're retired from hockey. They won the championship. Now they're done. And I think a lot of them also were just pushed out in a way. And they just don't want to deal with it. And I think it's getting to the point where it's just this disgusting cesspool. The PWHL needs to do something about this. And I feel like if they want continued success in this league, they have to step in, because I have seen way more people being disgusted and saying they don't want to give their money to a team that's run like this than I've seen people defending the team. And it is hard because we want women's hockey and we loved it here and we loved the team and we supported them and absolutely filled the rink. But we're not going to support an organization that runs like this. People have pointed out that part of this may be because it was so hastily thrown together. And while I feel like that could be a part of it, I think it just, again, I don't have any insider, but just from what I'm reading, it seems like certain people were allowed to just have as much unlimited power to do whatever they wanted. Nobody tamped down on it, and it has grown into this monster beast that is just out of control. I'm trying to find the quote from the article because it's just mind-blowing. An employee told the Rink Live on the condition of anonymity, "Have you ever heard of a coach telling people to not come on the ice for practice because you're taking time away from the important girls that are playing? Why do you think players are retiring?" And that is so gross. I don't care if it's PWHL. I don't care if this is happening in the NHL and at any level. This is gross. Can I tell you, every single person on that team is a member of the team. And one thing that I've been really big about is you need to understand that a hockey team needs all kinds of players. You cannot just have superstars. You cannot just have goal scorers. You need to have other players. You need to have players that are just going to munch minutes. Not everybody is a star, and that's okay. And you know what? These players, professional players, they understand their role. That's how they got to the level of being a pro, because they knew their role and they performed. So to say that some of these, maybe I'm assuming they're talking about fourth liners, the seventh D, backup goalies, and to say that they should not be out on the ice because it's taking time away from the stars, basically. I can't even. No coach should say that. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. And I guess I'll just have to keep on. Oh, my dog's barking now because my daughter came in. Hold on. Okay. I think he's done barking. My daughter was coming in from playing outside, and he barks anytime the door opens. Like, it doesn't matter if he knows it's us. It's part of his job. He's very good at security. Okay, we're going to move on to a little bit more Minnesota hockey stuff. This stuff is a little bit more happy. The Wild announced that they have signed both Declan Chisholm and Adam Raska to one-way deals. Chisholm is obviously going to be in Minnesota, and I'm going to assume on the third pairing, although it'd be interesting to see how they experiment with that. Adam Raska is more, he's got a two-way contract, and I would not be surprised to see him play for both teams this year. I think obviously he's more of an Iowa signing, but I will say I enjoyed watching Raska when he came up during the spring last year. I really enjoyed watching him. He's a very heavy player, gritty, kind of fits into that Minnesota Wild sort of hockey feeling. So those were just some exciting things. And honestly, I think the 1 year for Chisholm, I think part of that is because by next season, Ziv William will probably be ready to leave Denver and come to the Wild. I mean, who knows? I always try to advocate for, if someone is playing in college, I really want them to keep playing in college, because not only are they developing there, I think it's really important that they come away with a degree. Because hockey is a sport that can end very, very young and very quickly for some, and there needs to be something to fall back on. And then one more thing is that today, Alex Goligoski was spotted at development camp up in the box with Bill Guerin. And I am going to do some speculating based on absolutely no facts other than that he was there. But, people have wondered if he is going to retire after this season, since he is technically a free agent now. I kind of assume that maybe he was there as some sort of a transition into the front office for the Wild, or even, he might even just be shadowing someone in the front office, because he really is GM material. So to maybe get some experience on that side would be really important for him. So, I hope it is something like that. Otherwise, if he finds a contract somewhere, good for him. I understand wanting to play as long as you possibly can. All right, I am going to throw up my little Ticketmaster link here. One way you can support our show is via Ticketmaster. We have a QR code that plays on our videos. Otherwise, in my show notes, there is always a link. And if you use that to buy tickets to anything and everything that you want to do this summer, then a little bit of the profit will come to us instead of all to Ticketmaster. So just, if you're buying something like that, just try to remember our little link. So for this kind of second section of the podcast, there was a question asked a few weeks ago, and I forgot to address it. And so I was thinking about it today, which is basically, I talked a few episodes ago, I'll have to go look which one specifically, about the different kinds of fans. Someone's knocking on. Okay. Anyway, I talked about the different kinds of fans, and that there are many different ways to become a fan of a sport, of a team, of a player, in that there is no wrong way. It is okay if someone wants to know more about the player and their personal lives, not in a weird, creepy way, but just in a, they seem like an enjoyable person and they seem really fun. And someone asked, and this was a great question, why are fans like that? Is there some kind of reason that we can point to? They said, is it generational? Is it perhaps a female male thing? Is it related to how deep of a fan you are? And I have to say, I don't think it's any of that. I really think it's more of a personality thing. And I know I don't want to get into male, female, although I do know that there is kind of a continuum of the female brain, the male brain, and people can live anywhere on that continuum. We had a presentation about it once when I used to have a job. I'm still a little unsure of that. But I almost wonder if it can be more of a left brain, right brain, which I think that's also been debunked. But meaning I am someone who is much more of the creative stuff. I was an English major / English teacher. I've always been big into reading and writing and creativity, that side of things. And it's always been a lot harder for me to do things like science and math. And that's not to say that I was bad at them or that I didn't do them. I didn't enjoy doing them, whereas I enjoyed writing a story. So I wonder, perhaps other people are like that, and that might lead to them being that kind of a fan. Otherwise, I think there are just so many other ways to reach fans nowadays. I mean, I'm thinking specifically about social media. I'm thinking about TikTok. I'm thinking about Instagram, Twitter, even just like YouTube. And I think people are able to share more, both in official channels, like the Wilds and their Brock Faber, Jake Middleton video at Valley Fair. They're able to kind of share some more of that and be a little bit more silly with it. Whereas I think before, the only way that you could kind of be a sports fan was to watch the sports. Does that make sense? There wasn't much diving into, maybe they would do an interview or something, but you didn't get these, the video of them on their dad trip, where they got on the boat and Duhame was seasick and Dewar petted a shark. And, you wouldn't get those little looks into their personal life. And again, it's not wrong to want to know that. And I think it is very important to make a distinction between having a parasocial relationship with a player and simply enjoying a player in the way that you would have a favorite actor or a favorite singer, kind of in that same genre. Just because I knew everything about the Spice Girls when I was younger, it wasn't because I wanted to go be part of it. I hope my point is coming across, because I really think this is a fun, interesting question. And perhaps this kind of a fan seems a little bit more female-based, because this is a way that women are finding to get into sports. I find that I have had many female fans ask me questions about the game, and when I explain it, they're like, oh, okay, well, that's super simple. Like my boyfriend didn't want to explain it to me, or my brother, tried to explain it, but he didn't do a good job. Or, but being willing to talk about the other parts of the game is a really great way to draw in people that are not from sports families or are just not sports people. And I've talked before about hockey and how I think it is so beautiful. It's just an incredibly beautiful sport. And it makes sense that it might draw in a lot of people who are not into sports, because there are so many elements to it. There's the skating element. There's the amazing puck work by some of these guys, the edge work, all of it. And so again, I'm just going to reiterate that it's okay if people find the sport from that. And while, I don't want to force anybody to be a fan that they're not, I just don't want people to put down other people because they might experience a sport in a different way. Now, that does not mean that you cannot call them out if they're being extra creepy, because every once in a while someone will cross a line. And you know what? I don't think I have. If I have, I didn't mean to, but at the same time, perhaps I have. I've had friends from online who've definitely crossed the line. I've seen other people just from across the hockey world cross the line. And I think there is a distinction between being creepy and obsessive and overtly sexual about things, and a way to simply express maybe in a more funny way. I feel like I'm rambling, but I think I've got my point across. Now, I do have one more section in this podcast, which I will do after this ESPN ad read. So if you'll just stick with me through this 1 minute ad, I will get back to you with something a little bit more fun than the rest of what I've been talking about today.
Thank you for watching the show. If you enjoy our podcast and want to support the show, consider signing up for ESPN Plus via our link at insidetherink.com/ESPN, or scan the QR code on your screen now. I have ESPN Plus, and I personally love all the college sports, UFC, MLB, and NHL games all across ESPN platforms. Over 1,000 out-of-market NHL games are on ESPN Plus every year. Make sure you hit the QR code or go to insidetherink.com/ESPN to make sure you don't miss out on any of this year's NHL action. And if that wasn't enough for you, ESPN Plus is currently offering a bundle of ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Hulu for $14.99 a month. You get sports, the kids get Disney, and Hulu is the added bonus. It's the perfect bundle. I personally have it, and I don't know what you would do without it.
Okay, so we're back. Last week, I assigned each of the defensemen of the Minnesota Wild a character from Arthur. I didn't want to leave out the rest of the players. So for the forwards, and then I also added the goalies just because I needed a few more people, I assigned them a character from Phineas and Ferb. So first of all, if you are not a fan of Phineas and Ferb, you should be. You should go watch all of it. It's on Disney Plus. It's hilarious, and I've loved it for a long time. So anyway, I went through and I tried to figure out who would be who. We've got Phineas, who is kind of the ringleader, I just said that's Zuccarello. I know Zuki's not quite as vocal as Phineas is, but I just, Zuccarello's just kind of the ringleader when it comes to things. He's older, he's wiser, he is down for mischief. He's Phineas. Now, Ferb is very quiet, right? He goes along with the mischief, but he's just very quiet. And I thought that was Boldy. Boldy, while he might yap sometimes, generally I feel like he's more of the silent one. Dr. Doofenshmirtz is the goofy villain. He's a villain, but he's not. He's goofy, and he's Jules Eriksson-Ek. I'm so sorry. I just, you know what? Ek is a villain, and he's not a villain. Anybody who's a Wild fan is going to understand that. And then we got Perry the Platypus, who, hold on a minute. So Perry the Platypus is Kirill Kaprizov, because he's just like a normal Russian guy, just being Perry. But when he puts on that fedora, he is Secret Agent Perry, Secret Agent P. And Kaprizov is the same way, except he doesn't have a fedora. What happens is he's got that hip pad, and it's like when that hip pad comes out, he is putting the team on his back and going. So I just thought that fit him pretty well. Now we've got Candace, and I am so sorry, RIP, I picked Brendan Duham, because poor Duham is always getting picked on, and you know what? Everybody loves him. It's the same as Candace. Candace is always trying to tell on her brothers. She's always trying to do kind of the right thing, but everyone just gets so mad, but they still love her. So then Jeremy is Candace's boyfriend. And he's just kind of laid back, and he's just kind of there. And that's Freddie Goudreau. And then Stacy is Candace's friend. And also, kind of just, tries to kind of call Duhaime on his stuff. And now that I'm seeing this, I realize that this could be Dewar, but I just kind of stuck Ogre in there. I needed a spot for him, and I just thought Stacy, it'll fit. Now, Isabella is Marc-Andre Fleury, because Fleury is super nice, super polite, and he is also gonna pull some shenanigans. And that is Isabella to a T. And there's Baljeet, quiet, smart, can take a ribbing, but everybody does love him, is Marco Rossi. Whereas Buford, who's kind of the big bully guy, but with a heart of gold, is Marcus Foligno. I think that one's pretty obvious. Then we've got Linda, who is Phineas and Ferb's mom. She's always just kind of vibing. She was at one point in time an 80s pop star, and she vibes. She's got like a girl group that she plays at the mall in, like with a band. And you know what? Candace is always trying to tell her about the things that Phineas and Ferb are doing. And she believes Candace, but she's like, you know what? I got other stuff to do, sweet pea. And that is Philip Gustafson. He is always just vibing, and he's willing to go along with things, but he's also real busy. Whereas Lawrence, the dad, he's pretty quiet. He's quirky, but he's pretty quiet. And he doesn't really get in on the Phineas and Ferb shenanigans. He kind of always has his own thing going on. And I feel like that was Jesper Wallstad. Wallstad is quiet, but he's quirky. We've got Major Monogram, who is the boss of, Agent P. And I just kind of stuck Jacob Blauko there. I'm not exactly sure why, but I did think it was funny because then I made Carl the intern Murat Huznadinov, and I felt like that fit kind of like a mentorship. I thought was funny. Because Carl the intern, he like sometimes calls out Major Monogram, or he like gets really confused about stuff. And I always remember Huznadinov's face when he came out and he saw Fleury's car? What was it? Whatever Duhaime did to Fleury. And he was just like, And then there's Vanessa, who is Doofenshmirtz's daughter. And she's just kind of like a badass goth girl. I stuck Ryan Hartman there. I think he could do a really good goth kind of a thing. And I enjoy that he really commits to the bit, because let's think back to Halloween when he was Dr. Phil and literally hired a movie like makeup artist to come put a bald cap on him, and it took like 8 hours. Like, he is committed to the bit. He is here for it. And I have to respect that, and people complain he's getting overpaid and they want him to leave. And I don't, because you know what? He commits to it. So that is my somewhat disjointed podcast of the day. My children kept interrupting for things like they wanted to go outside and they needed to find some headphones, and also that they did find the headphones. They just wanted me to know. But we've got some good things happening here in Minnesota. We've got some absolutely terrible things happening here in Minnesota, and I will keep you up to date on all of it. So until next time, thank you as always for listening, and I will be back in your feed in just a couple days. Have a good day.